All right, we are live. We are live right now, yo. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Kava Club podcast. My name is Will. You already know who I am. I am the host of this show. I'm very excited today. I am super excited today. We have a very special guest, one of my Polynesian sisters, all the way from Hawaii, and she is a Polynesian entrepreneur. So I'm very excited today to have her on my show today to share her life story. I just want to say shout out to her real quick. And thank you so much for taking the time. I'm very grateful for the opportunity for you to join me today. I'm very excited to have you share your story for all my guests that's going to be listening today. If you're listening and watching my podcast for the very first time, I just want to say thank you so much for watching and tuning in. And I just want to ask you, if you don't mind, show some love and support and like and subscribe to my channel. And of course, everybody that's been watching my episodes, been watching my podcast, thank you so much for all the love and support, all the positive feedback you guys constantly give me. That really, really inspires me and keeps me going. So I'm excited. So mad love, mad respect to everyone that's been watching. Thank you so much. But I'm excited. I'm ready to get back to my special guest all the way from Hawaii and allow her to introduce herself real quick. So it's all you.
All right. First and foremost, I just wanted to say thank you, Will, so much for this opportunity. I really think what you're doing is great. Just allowing our people to have this platform to share their stories. It's amazing. I'm going to apologize because I am nervous, but thank you very much. My name is Suga Collins. I'm 26 years old. Originally, I'm from Lakewood, Washington, and I'm full Samoan and part Niuean.
All right, sounds good. I'm excited. I'm excited to have you join. Thank you so much for taking the time. I'm excited to get on this podcast and definitely hear you out. So I guess let's get started. The very first question I'm going to ask you is, how did you grow up?
So like I said, I was born in Lakewood, Washington. I'm the youngest of 6. And my mom, she was in the Army. She retired from the Army. So we, after she retired, we just stayed in Lakewood. And I feel like I grew up in a good, in a decent community. I had enough Polynesian support. And then how do I say this? I don't know. I always felt like the way that I grew up, it wasn't as Polynesian as I wanted it to be. Yeah, if that makes sense.
It wasn't very traditional Poly.
Yeah. We were raised in a Samoan church, so I was surrounded by Samoans my entire life. But for some reason, I still felt like I wasn't Samoan enough. The way that I talk it, I don't talk like a Samoan. I don't talk like a Polynesian. So I always felt like I was an outcast. And I think throughout my entire childhood, I always had a sense of, I'm so sorry, I don't know how to put it. I just always felt like I still had so much to prove to my people. Because the way that I spoke, I struggled with learning Samoan, with the language. Honestly, I was always too ashamed to speak Samoan because of the way that I pronounced the words, and I couldn't complete a full sentence without having to pause or stutter. So because of that, I just always felt like I was disconnected from my community, even though they were right there.
I want to ask you, why did you feel that way? Did they treat you differently because of that?
Some people did. Sometimes that happened. I feel like the people who weren't my family or who didn't know me and my family, of course, right off the bat, they're just like, "Are you sure you're Samoan? Are you sure you're Polynesian?" And with that being said to me my whole life, I just honestly I never wanted to even learn because of that. I already felt judged from the gate, so that stopped me from growing in my language.
Because I know, Polynesians can be really, really harsh. So were they really harsh on you? Because I've no friends that have been like that. Never feel like they're Polynesian, and I know how Polynesians are sometimes. We don't know the language, or they think you're maybe too Americanized. They can be very harsh in how they treat you. Was that? Yeah.
It was like that exactly.
Yeah.
So I feel like because of that, like I really tried to show my or to prove my worth in different ways. Like because I couldn't speak the language and I wasn't comfortable with speaking the language, I decided to spend more time on the rest of the culture. Like
Yeah.
I put more effort in learning how to do my sipa Samoan and how to dance, and because I was like, well, if I can't speak it, then I might as well show it.
Yeah.
That didn't stop me from loving my culture at all, though.
Yeah.
Like I still love my culture, and I don't know, I feel like at school, especially, at school too, like the Polynesian community at the school, they were way more judgy, like judgmental.
To be honest, what would they say? To be honest, what were the things they said to you? Like, if you could...
They wouldn't say it to my face. They would say it in Samoan because they knew I couldn't understand it.
You know the words or no?
No.
Okay. All right.
But yeah, that was pretty much like my childhood. My parents, I feel like they've done a really great job at raising my siblings and I. They've done the best that they could. Like I said, my mom, she was a retired Army. My dad, he was in the military as well. But growing up, my parents, they divorced when I was going into 9th grade.
Okay.
And when all of that was happening, like I feel like it definitely took a toll on me because I was the youngest. I was the last one in the house when everything was going on. And my mom, she ended up remarrying not too long after. I think it took a long time for me to understand what was going on, of course, because I was still young. I didn't understand what marriage was, what relationships were. But during that time, I was in a rebellious phase. I grew up like all through middle school and high school. I grew up always in ASB. I was always the class president every single year. But as soon as that happened, I just resorted to a lot of different things that I'm grateful for it now. I'm grateful that I experienced it now. But because of everything that happened between my parents and what I seen in my household, I started to find quote unquote love in all the wrong places and all the wrong ways.
Yeah.
I was searching for, some type of fulfillment. And it definitely like is something that I'm still working through, like all of my emotions, all of those like pent up emotions that I have. As of right now, I'm definitely happy that my parents did separate because what they were in wasn't a healthy relationship, and now I do feel like they're both better off. I love my stepdad. I love his family, and my stepbrothers and sisters. They're amazing now, but it just definitely took a toll on me when I was growing up. So because of that, I felt like everything that happened in high school, I was supposed to go to college. I was supposed to go to Washington State University.
Yeah.
But all of my attention was on the wrong things. Like it was on, just trying to find a boyfriend, like I was ditching school like every other day. I don't know how I was still the class president or how I graduated, honestly. But I ended up going into the military. My oldest brother, he was a recruiter at the time. So right after high school, I moved with him to Texas, El Paso, Texas. And I had to lose a lot of weight to get in. I was pretty chunky, but I had to lose a lot of weight to get in. And then I just enlisted in the Army. And I served in the Army for 6.5 years. And I just ETS about a few months ago. I feel like everything I experience now I love it now, but going through it, it was the it just seemed like it was like a never-ending cycle of pain and sadness, you know.
Yeah.
When I was in the Army, I was a supply sergeant, and I had deployed twice in my first 3 years while I was serving. Those were 3 rough years, and those were 2 rough deployments. I don't feel like a lot of military people, like not just Polynesians, but military members, service members in general, I don't feel like they speak enough on it either. Like I know everyone copes in their different ways, but within the 2 deployments, there's things that has happened and things that I've seen that at the time I didn't know it was PTSD.
Yeah.
And of course, like I'm still trying to work on it, but while I was serving, I realized that I had so much anger. Like every day when I was waking up, I was always angry, I was always mad, and I was always taking like I was always putting my emotions onto the people around me, and I didn't know what it was. My friends were trying to tell me like, oh, Sunga, you need to go, like you should go talk to someone, or you should go see a therapist. But when you're in the military, it's not said that it's looked down on, but you can tell that people look down on it. Like if you're going to ask for help. So I never did. Like I never went to behavioral health or just to see like a therapist or anything. And I just carried all of that anger from what happened in my first 3 years with me. But I'm sorry, do you have any questions so far?
No, go no. I'm just listening. Go, you keep talking. I got the questions, but yeah, I just want to keep going. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, like I said, I felt that like just deployments were rough on me, but also in the military, what I feel like a lot of women and men are afraid to come out with is sexual assault and things into them while they're in the military. And I've never said this to any of my family members, so if they see this, man, this is going to be a conversation. But yeah, like there is 2 occasions where something happened to me sexually that I did not want it to happen. I did not speak up on it. I didn't say anything. I didn't report it. And that also carried with me. Like I carried that with me the rest of my time in the service. Mostly because I blamed myself for not saying anything. At first I blamed myself for not saying anything, and then I blamed myself for letting it happen. You know, I felt that I was the one who let that happen. I tried to talk myself out of it. Like, are you sure you didn't say like it was okay? Are you sure you didn't give them, you know, a reason to? Now that I look on it, like no matter what happens to someone, no, they say no. So that definitely helped. Not helped. That definitely pushed me to finalize my contract and get out of the Army. So I got out about 5 months ago, and since then I was able to get a new job, and I'm also an entrepreneur on the side. I started a business about 1.5 years ago when I was transitioning out of the Army. I was looking for a way out. Like I was looking for something that can transition out of the Army smoothly. And like I felt like this company was a great fit for me. Like I wanted to focus on my health. I wanted to lose weight. And I felt that with the little audience that I have, I could be of use to the people around me by providing a healthier alternative to their lifestyle. I've been doing that business on the side and I love it. I feel like it's definitely helped me with realizing the things that I need to fix about myself. We've like our company, we focus a lot on self-development. And I feel like if I never got out and if I never decided to join this business, I wouldn't be focusing on the things that I've been carrying for so long. Every day, like I've been trying to do a self-development every day, and it was only like a month ago where I started to realize, like, man, like I am angry. Like I am angry all the time. There are things that I need to address within myself, and because I've been carrying it for so long, and it also affected my marriage too. When me and my husband, when we first got married, I was taking out a lot of anger on him when he wasn't even there, you know, when everything happened to me. So to save my marriage had just started, and to save, most importantly, myself and my mental like sanity, that's when I started addressing everything. And I feel like a better person. I feel like I've grown a lot within such a short amount of time. But most importantly, I just want to help as many people as I can who have been in the same situations that I have, whether it was from childhood and not being like recognized as, you know, who you are and being a Samoan, to being a Samoan woman in the army who doesn't feel comfortable enough to share their, you know, to share their story and what happened to them. And however a person wants to open up and talk about what they're going through, you know, that's on them. But I really love what you're doing and how you just allowed me to share this, because I really do hope that it reaches out to someone and find a solution.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's pretty much like me all summed up.
It's all good. It's all good. So I just want to say, first and foremost, just want to say thank you. Thank you for sharing, and thank you for having the courage to share what you just shared today. A lot of people don't know how much courage that takes. What you just did right now, you know, even though you came out a little, you just came out, but people don't realize how hard it is to share something that deep and that painful in your life. So, and the fact that you're sharing it today, not only for yourself, but you're sharing for people out there that've gone through similar circumstances and trying to search for some kind of healing and positive hope for their life. And the fact that you shared that today, I just want to say thank you so much. Thank you so much. Much love to you. I just want to give you a big hug right now. Big Zoom hug right now. But I just want to say, just begin off with that. Thank you for sharing. I guess the first question I just want to ask you is, I guess we're just going to go back to your childhood, because I feel like, you know, our childhood does play a big role to who we become later on in life. And I think a lot of times as adults, we don't take the necessary steps to deal with the things we've gone through in our childhood. And that, like you said, we carry that, right? We carry that in our whole life. And I'm so happy you found that self-development job, and that's something, and I guess we can talk about later, but that's something like, I just want anybody out there, doesn't matter who you are, Polynesian, whoever you are, please start working on your personal self-development and growth. That's something that we definitely, people don't really prioritize themselves that many, because I know life, we have jobs, we have bills, we have responsibility, we have families. If you're Polynesian, you already know family, all these family burdens and things we have to do. And sometimes we kind of forget to take care of ourselves and to develop ourselves. But the one of my favorite advice somebody always told me is, like, nothing in our life will change on the outside if we don't change from the inside. And if you want your life to become better, then it starts within. Like, you have to become better. So if anybody out there that's going through some kind of struggle, they're lost, they need some answer, guidance, I highly suggest you go out and start, get some self-help books, seminars, but start doing things to better yourself first, and then things will get better. But I want to ask you, just like looking back at your childhood, I know you talked about, the Polynesians, didn't really accept you for because you were different. I guess we can start off with that, because that's something I see a lot, right? Like, Polynesians, if somebody is not doesn't speak their language, or somebody that has little knowledge of the culture, we are so quick to outcast them. Yeah. So if, for me, that never made sense to me, because at the end of the day, we're all Polynesian. So I want to ask you, looking back at it now, if you had a chance to talk to yourself, like when you were dealing with it, like now you have like more knowledge of who you are now and self-development, like what would you do differently? So, and not like, I guess one thing I always believe in is self-identity, is learning to be yourself. That if you can't be yourself, it's really hard to be confident. And if you try to be somebody else that you're not, then you're always going to be insecure. You're always going to be looking for some kind of, like you said, fulfillment, right? You're always going to be looking for some kind of fulfillment to fill you, but the only person that can fill you is is yourself, right? So looking back at it, now looking back at your childhood, what, like, especially for all the kids out there that's watching this right now, and they're going through that similar experience, they may be their Polynesian family or their Polynesian community, their Polynesian church right now is treating them differently because they speak English well, or because they have different interests that may not align for what the Polynesians are. What would you tell that person right now that's going through the same situation that you went through as a kid?
I would tell them that it's okay. Like, it's okay to be different. It's okay to talk the way that you talk, and to just be proud of how you were raised. Like, for the longest time, I always felt that because I didn't speak Samoan, I was raised, like, my parents didn't raise me right.
Yeah.
And I did feel that I did put the blame on the way that I was being treated. I put the blame on that for me not learning Samoan when I was younger. And I would have told my younger self, don't let it stop you. Like, it's okay. Yeah. You can pick up a Samoan Bible and read, and, just read it yourself. You don't have to prove it to anyone. So I definitely would tell anyone out there who's having the same problem, or who had the same problem, to start right now. Like, start learning right now, and don't do it to prove your worth. Don't do it to prove anyone else like wrong or right. Do it because you're proud of where you come from, and you're proud of the language that your people, speak.
Yeah, definitely. And that's something that's something I feel like we definitely need to do, and as a culture, because I remember when I came from Tonga, I came to America. Of course, I was a straight fob. I was a straight fob. But I remember when I came here, I went to Texas. I went to live with my auntie, and I went to school in Texas. So I went to school in all white school, like majority of they're all white. And so my first couple of years in America, I spent a lot of time with other races, like white people, Mexicans, and blacks. I didn't really spend a lot of time with Polynesians at all. And for me, that's when my life started to change. I started to talk English. I started to have a different mindset because I was outside the culture. And then I remember after high school, when I graduated, I came back to the Bay Area, and then I came back and started, of course, the Bay Area, a lot of Polynesians in the Bay Area, a lot of Tongans in the Bay Area. And I remember hanging around a lot of Tongans, and I realized that we just didn't connect mentally. Yeah. Because I spent so much time with different cultures that my self-identity as a person kind of evolved from being a fob. and just to let you know, if you're a fob, nothing wrong with fobs. I love all my fobs out there, nothing wrong with that. But I remember I was just around other Tongans, and then I remember like I wasn't connecting mentally with them, because a lot of my interests of what I liked and what they liked wasn't aligned. And I used to struggle with that, because I was like, okay. Then I remember I purposely just be with them, even though I didn't really want to be with them, because I just was afraid that people might say something. So that's something looking back at now, I always tell people it's okay. Like if you're different. I guess one thing I always tell my friends, like, look, be proud of being Tongan, but also be proud of what being a unique Tongan, unique Polynesian. Be proud of being Polynesian, but be proud of your differences that makes you unique from other Polynesians, because it's our differences is what makes us great. It makes us, beautiful in everything we do. So that's something I just want to reach out to you. So I want to ask you is, for you, so you struggle with your self-identity, right? Like just figure out your worth. Because you mentioned everybody out there, hey, don't let anybody tell you what your worth is. If somebody tells you you're not Polynesian enough or you're not good enough, like don't let people diminish your self-value. Like you're always gonna, just have confidence in yourself. So I do want to ask you is, for you. So when you went from your childhood, and I know you talked about going into your what happened with your dad and your mom, and you said that when they divorced, that was a really hard time in your life. Did you ever? And I know you said you started having all these feelings, and then you went into a rebellious phase. Did you ever one time communicate to your mom or your dad like what you were feeling? Did you look like? Did you ever like kind of voice out, "Hey, I'm struggling here. I have all these mixed feelings because of divorce, and you don't understand what you're going through." Did you ever at one time reach out to them and try to have a conversation with them?
There were a few times where I tried. Of course, I feel like how a lot of Samoans and a lot of Polynesians have like the lack of communication. Like one end isn't receptive to receiving what someone's trying to say, and also on my part, I didn't know how to share.
Yeah.
Like I didn't know how to share what I was feeling, which led to my parents not understanding and sometimes not wanting to understand.
Yeah. So do you remember how those conversations went? Was it like what they like? Was it? I know you said like they didn't want to understand, but like when you approached them and you talked to them, or like what was like their response? Was like, hey, let's listen out, or was it just like one sided?
My mom was very one-sided.
Yeah. Yeah.
She was more of just like, you live in this house, you're going to listen, like you're going to do what I say and how I say it. And a lot of times it was like, to be like frankly honest,
Yeah.
like I did feel that her new marriage when they got married was forced. It was definitely forced onto me, and I'm not going to speak for my siblings, but it was forced onto myself. Because it all happened like in a very tight window.
Yeah.
Like when
Yeah.
my parents divorced and my mom got remarried. So I don't feel like I did have enough time to even communicate what I was feeling before the next thing happened, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So by the end of it all, like once my mom did get married, it was more of just, you're gonna do what I say, you're gonna live in this house until you graduate, or you can go live with your dad, you can go live with your brothers. Like it was kind of like all or nothing for her.
Yeah. So there was pretty much like no conversation with her. Hey, there's gonna be a new dad. Like kind of like easy, like trying to explain it to you. It was just like, look, I'm gonna get married right now. Accept what it is. If you don't like it.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. All right. No, and thank you for sharing that, by the way, because I know there's a lot of Polynesians out there that's going through the same predicament with their situation, and the parents leave. I've talked to a lot of people, my guests, they had the same situation where their families, their parents ended up divorcing at a really young age. But the reason why I wanted to bring up, because one thing I have noticed that the lack of communication, and that's something I always talk whenever I talk with somebody that always had their parents went out, their parents were separated at a very young age. The one thing they've always mentioned to me was like the lack of communication to explain what just happened. Yeah. Because as a kid, you're trying to like understand what's going on, like that's, and because you try to understand everything, and I guess part of it, like I guess we can talk about later when it comes to mental health. A lot of Polynesians don't understand that as kids we are aware of things and we have our own thoughts and we think about these type of stuff, and a lot of times because we don't communicate with the parents and with the kid, then as a kid, like you said, if you don't know how to deal with your feelings at a really young age because you're just too young, and you have a lot of other questions, and that's left unanswered, then you tend to like become a little rebel.
It's just gonna be a never-ending cycle. Like if you never learn when you're younger, then you're gonna grow up not knowing how to share, and that same thing that happened to you is going to happen like to future generations. So unless you address it now and learn how to communicate now, then
yeah. So okay, so when you talked, so you tried to talk to your mom, and it wasn't really there was no reciprocation when it finally comes to communication. Do you remember the moment in your life you're like, you know what, I just want to rebel. I just want to go out. Can you talk about that experience? Like, when you just like didn't care no more, and then I wanted to just rebel and get out. And because I feel like a lot of kids at this point right now, and I want them to hear this to understand, the implications of our decisions.
Mm-hmm.
And I just hope that you can listen to you and get some kind of understanding, because I do understand, like as a young kid, you just don't know. And if you don't know, then you just, they tend to do anything. And sometimes they end up leaving, like you said, going to unhealthy places and things that's not pretty good for yourself as a kid. So can you talk about that when you just talk to your mom, no communication, you're like, you know what, F it, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to, you talk about that phase. Yeah.
I remember one like particular like argument that me and my mom had, and it was at the time when she had already remarried. But she wanted me to show some respect towards my stepdad, and I didn't know the man. I only knew him for a few months.
Yeah.
Everything that was going on, I felt like it was just between me and my mom. But she wanted me to go apologize to him, and I was not, like, my pride, my little self was
Wait, apologize for what? What did you do?
I have no idea. To this day, I'm like, okay, what was I supposed to but yeah, like at that time when she was like, well, either you go apologize and you make things right, or you go move in with your dad. Yeah. And like the fact that she, like, to me, I definitely looked at that like an ultimatum. Yeah. Like, okay, so you're choosing a marriage, like your marriage
over you. Yeah.
Over me. Okay.
Yeah.
Definitely. I was like, okay, that's fine. So it was around that time when I got into kind of a serious relationship. I was like literally just entering high school. I was a ninth grader, 14 years old, and there was a senior guy who I was just like, well, since you're here. And yeah, so I was that freshman who was dating a senior, and I ended up losing my virginity that year. I was 2 years old, and I thought it was cool. Like I thought it was like the thing to do then. Yeah. It was not like after that first time I realized it was not what it was all made out to be. Yeah. But I did feel like because I was rebelling, like because I was doing something that I wasn't supposed to do, like, one, maybe I can get more attention. Two, maybe I can get my way. I can use this, to get anything I want. Like, okay, well, Mom, since you have a new marriage and, like, you're living your life now, then what can I get out of it? Like, I was so selfish when it just came to that, because I learned, or I got in this tendency to pretty much like use anything I could to get money, to get anything out of my stepdad, out of my mom. Yeah. But yeah, like I I felt that after the first time, I realized it wasn't something that I should have done. I still continue doing it. Like I didn't feel the satisfaction or the fulfillment that I needed then. And I was just like, okay, well, let me try again. I went from, and my family, like my sister always tells me this, but I jumped from relationship to relationship throughout my entire high school year. My entire high school year. Like I did not want to be alone. I felt that like I didn't have anyone anymore. Like what was going on at home, I was just going to leave that at home, and I'm just going to go find happiness from someone else and from someone else. So yeah.
So looking back at it now, did you ever have that moment when you realize, okay, this shit's not healthy, this shit's not good? Did you ever get to that moment at a really young age, or when you finally recognized that what you were doing at a really young age? Did you ever have that moment where you just realized, this is something that's not right, or the things that you're doing is not working out? And did you ever have that moment really in high school?
It didn't hit me until after high school.
After high school, like before you enrolled in the military?
I was, of course, dating this guy. I was dating this guy in high school, and it was my first experience of domestic violence and abuse. At the time, I didn't know it was. I just always felt like, okay, well, he says he loves me, so he must love me regardless of what's happening. And I'm so thankful for my brother during this time, because he was the one who told me I needed to go into the military. And when I moved with him, I was still like in a relationship. But the time that I spent with my brother, that's when I realized that everything I was doing was wrong. Like I didn't need to be in this relationship. I didn't need to be taking this from any person, regardless of who they are. So I feel like that's when I started to realize what I was going through. And like I said, I'm really thankful for my brother. He's my oldest brother. There's a huge age gap between all of us. So he was more of like my father figure when I felt like I didn't have any. He was always there for me.
Okay, nice. And also, that's I know you talked about going from relationship, and looking back, because I always say, why is it so important to build great communication with your kids, especially at a really young age? Because and that's why I'm a big advocate where, like you said, like of making sure that we build a healthy environment home for Polynesian kids, so they see a healthy type of love. Because usually what happens is what we see at home, that becomes like what we think everything is. So our definition of love starts at home. Our definition of happiness starts at home. Our definition of joy, fulfillment starts at home. And usually what happens is when you face a lot of stuff at home, and that becomes your definition. I know you have a different definition of love now, obviously, but when you were younger, what was your definition of love? If you, I don't know if you do remember, or like what was your definition of what love was, or or of how a man is supposed to love you when back then? Do you kind of remember?
Honestly, I don't even think I had a definition. I don't think I
had
an
idea. I did. You just want something to fill that void.
I just wanted someone to be there. Like I wanted someone's attention, someone to always, and I feel like that was like a toxic trait that even like myself, like full disclosure, like even myself, like I had carried on with like past relationships too, that I felt like always like I always needed someone to check up on me. I always needed someone to like call me, like, oh, where are you at? What are you doing? And that's what I thought love was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you ever tell your brother about you told your brother about what happened, that domestic violence with your boyfriend?
No.
Oh no. Oh, okay. So you just moved in with them.
Yeah.
Okay. And of course, if any girl that's watching this right now, just let you know, there's no reason a man should ever touch you. Just wanna, should touch you in a physical way, but or a sexual way. Like you should know that your body's sacred. So I just wanna put out there for all the women. If a man hits you, he does not love you. Just let you know right now. I just want to let you know right now. Can you talk about your going to the military, your experience, and just what you see? I know you talked about a little bit of what happened with you, but I know that I feel like there's a lot of things that because I know there's a lot of kids that want to go to the military, and I just want them to prepare themselves. And I want you to give them the knowledge and the things that they should look for, and what they could do, because you know, I don't want them to go and it's funny. It's like I'm sorry, it's not funny. I'm sorry, but what I'm saying is like I've heard that I have some military friends, and that's some of the things that they shared to me about the military. But you know, the military is really, what's the word? They don't leak out anything that's going out.
Really
They keep it,
yeah.
keep everything in house. You know, I just somebody says something, but I've heard some disturbing stuff about the military from my close military friends that I know, and a lot of these things don't even never gets told.
Yeah.
So I do appreciate sharing it. But can you just share your military experience? And then for everybody out there that's watching this, if you know there's plans to go in the military, can you kind of give them things to look for so they can kind of prepare themselves and protect themselves of what, you know, if they do go in there, and then make sure that this never happens. Don't put yourself in this situation, and knowing how to protect themselves. Go ahead.
Well, I still like, I will always appreciate my time in the military. I feel like I've grown a lot from it. For anyone who wants to get in the military, like my nephew, he wants to go into the military, and everyone has their own different experiences. In it. For myself, I always look at, like everyone always looks at too, that the military is just like a really big melting pot. Like you have people from everywhere, from, you know, every part of the States, like no matter what their culture is. And when you mix that all in one, there's a lot of different perspectives, and respect and boundaries, and like basic training is supposed to, you know, like drill down and instill like a certain standard to set. Not everyone follows the standard. So I feel like if you, how do I say this? If like going into the military is something that you want to do, then, you know, just be prepared for a whole lot of different views. Like right now, like within the Polynesian community, you know, we're all kind of raised up the same, and not everyone has that same background. It took a lot for me to learn that I love sharing my culture. I loved sharing my culture and experiences with all of my friends that are in the military. But with the good side, there's also a bad side to it. So when I had experienced some like sexual harassment and sexual assault, those were from people who I thought were friends and who I thought were close to me. But like I said, like my view on what friends are and what I would consider family, other people don't. Like they didn't, you know, they took that as a completely different thing. Like I thought I was just being friendly, and you know, like how Polynesians are always friendly. I thought I was just being friendly, but I don't know if they seen it as, oh, this is my opportunity.
Yeah.
You know. Which is why I also do feel like a lot of women in the military, like a lot of Samoan and Polynesian women in the military now, they have to put up a barrier because they don't want anyone to cross it. And that was me too. Like I had to put up a barrier. I had to put up a wall. Just like after everything happened, I was like, I do not want this to happen to me anymore. Like I cannot be friendly with people who I know, like, they don't know my intentions, so I'm not going to be friendly with them. Like I'm not going to get close to them. I'm just going to come here for work and then leave. I don't want that to stop anyone from joining the military.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like not everyone is bad, and you know, like you are going to have a lot of great experiences in it, but protect yourself, like, and guard your heart from letting things get to you. Yeah, I don't know if that makes sense.
No, it does. Does the military have like they do have like places where you can go talk and but like you said, like, you know, the culture of like being vulnerable and being emotionally being asking for help, that can be seen as people look down on you. Yeah. In the military.
Yeah, especially like as a leader. Like when I was in the military, I was an NCO, and I did not want, like personally, I did not want anyone to see me go to behavioral health. I didn't want them to see me walk through the doors and judge me like, oh, what is she going through? Like, like she must not be stable, or she must not be like fit to lead. And that's like the term, a lot of people associate behavioral health with, which honestly, like without like how we talked about before, without solving your issues, like it can just lead to so much like additional like toxic leadership. So I do personally feel like if I was in the military still, like I would tell myself, go now. Like there's twice when I set up an appointment and I did not go. Like I was so scared just to go get help, and having some like backlash on my career. But at the end of the day, like now it's just like, how can, like I see it like, how can you lead from the front? How can you lead other soldiers? How can you have the responsibility of someone else's life in your hands if you're not all the way there? Like if you're not able to take care of yourself, how can you help others?
Yeah. Did you see when you were there, did you see anybody go into the office, or you just saw nobody go to the office?
I actually had a few friends who went, like they were at that point where just like they already had their realization moment. Like they knew, like now is my time, and they were the ones who tried to talk me into going and just saying like, it's gonna be okay, like you're gonna be fine. But I was so stuck in being scared of how others would view me, and my Samoan pride definitely came out, because I was just like, a girl doesn't need help. I don't need, to go talk to someone. I'm fine. And everyone always like seeing, like all of my friends, they always viewed me as that like strong Samoan who can lift like so much, like so many pounds, like, but mentally I wasn't. And I really do wish I would have known it back then, that it's okay to go ask for help. Like you're not even like, it's okay to go talk to someone. Like you don't have to hold and carry all of this weight on your shoulders by yourself, because you're that Samoan, you're that Tongan, you're that poly kid who everyone sees like, oh, like they have some like, like they can lift so much, they're so big, like nothing's going on with them, like nothing's going on in their heads. It's okay. Like just talking to someone, talking to someone then would have saved me a lot of pain and heartache that I put on myself. Like no one else had to put it on me. I just had so much pain in myself.
Okay. And besides your own experience, did you hear about other people's experiences that gone through the same thing, or was just your own personal experience that you went through?
No, there's a lot of other ones, like polys, non-polys, like a lot of people in the military, like we talk amongst ourselves.
Yeah.
And if you have that good group of people that you can count on, that like a good group of friends, then like they were able to share their stories with me, and I never felt like I was in a place to give them advice, or tell them to go ask for help, which makes me feel like I could have done a lot better for them too. If I would have gone to get help myself, then I could have brought them with me, or I could have told them, like maybe you should go see a counselor.
I mean, just based on what I've heard from my own friends, and just like observing, like they said, like the military is really tough. And then I don't know if you saw that story about that one girl that was just found dead, buried out. I don't remember. I don't know if you remember that story. But how everything was just like kept within the house, but they did an investigation.
And light.
Everything came to light. But so it's just, I guess what like you said, just get the help you need, and don't fall. I guess is what you're saying. Don't fall, I guess, to the pressure of being seen as. I guess the pressure to be perfect and not be seen as weak. I guess is what you're trying to say, right? Okay, cool. So yeah, just thank you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing that, by the way. And like you said, the military is, it has a lot of great benefits, a lot of great things about the military. So if that's your dream, if what you want to do for yourself, and go make sure, go ahead. But I guess what the main thing I want to say to all the Polynesians is just take that pride away. Be proud, but don't be prideful. I guess that's the way, right? Because I know that's something that as Polynesians that we struggle with a lot, and I hear from a lot of Polynesians is we have this pride that we have to be strong all the time and be perfect all the time, and especially if you grow up that whole way as a kid. So just let you know it's okay to get help, y'all. If you need some help, especially when it comes to sexual abuse and you should definitely not hold that in and definitely go ask for help and for people and not try to deal it with yourself. Mm-hmm. Okay. I know you did talk about PTSD, right? Did you go through that after or before or at the end of your service?
It was after. So it was
after.
Yeah, I didn't actually start going to see a counselor. I had to do it virtually, but I didn't actually start until about a month ago.
Yeah.
I was finally there were so many things going on in my marriage that all of my anger that carried over into my marriage that I was just like, now is the time I need to talk to someone.
Yeah.
And so when I finally did, they had diagnosed me with PTSD and anxiety. And I felt, as weird as it sounds, I felt so much relief after. And I noticed that it was the initial consultation. They were asking me just basic questions, and I was already breaking down crying. And that's when they told me at the end they had told me, well, you have this, and I just felt so much better because it answered so many things for me. It answered why I was always angry and why I was always sad and why I was always having nightmares and waking up in the middle of the night. For the longest time I felt that if I was labeled with PTSD or if I was labeled with anxiety, then I would be I would look at myself I was deficient or I was not perfect.
Yeah.
And now it's just well, I know some I know a lot of people who already have went to go seek help, and they have PTSD, they have anxiety. So I did reach out to them about how what are the next steps, how are you solving, how are you fixing yourself? And honestly, they were just self-development, work on yourself, work on your insides, work on how you view yourself, how you love yourself, what is how we talked about what is the meaning of love. Where do it was a hard thing to really narrow it down, address what is actually causing every single thought in my head. But after I addressed those issues, I'm still working on it, but I do feel a lot better. I feel a lot happier with life and a lot happier when I look in the mirror. I'm having less nightmares.
Yeah.
But yeah, it will always be a work in progress. But as long as you stay committed, and the only thing you have to stay committed to is yourself. And as long as you stay committed to yourself, then you'll make it to the next day.
Yeah, thank you. Can you share what PTSD is? I know it's post-traumatic stress disorder, but can you share it because I know for a lot of people that's watching, they have no idea what that is. So can you share what it is? Based on the information you learned from your own counselor, where does it come from? What are the symptoms that you may have or you might do that so you can recognize that you do have PTSD, and also a lot of people. I remember I read that a lot of people have PTSD from the military after they've done serving. So I just want to make sure people that are watching this right now see, because a lot of them have probably heard PTSD. What the hell is that? So I just want to make sure we kind of educate them and make sure they know what it is, and they know what the symptoms are in their life, and so that way they can kind of be aware and recognize that for themselves.
So in summary, from I'm not a by the book, I can't read.
Yeah.
But like in summary, PTSD is when something traumatic happens in your life and it just causes like an overwhelming amount of like stress on you. Like, and it doesn't have to be military related. It can
Yeah,
be
yeah,
you
yeah,
experience in childhood, um, something you experienced, like if it was like a car accident, something. It's like there's so many different varieties of
yeah. A very traumatic event. Yeah,
yeah, a very traumatic event. And a lot of people like they do associate that with the military, but it doesn't only happen in the
yeah,
military.
yeah. That's right.
Um, so I think like some of the symptoms, of course, are like if you're always angry, like myself, if you're having nightmares, um, some things like if you're depressed, having thoughts of suicide, having thoughts of hurting other people or just hurting yourself. Um, those are definite signs of PTSD or depression. And I'm no counselor. I'm no
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Of course, of
anything.
course.
Um, but I will always recommend from the moment that I found out that I was diagnosed with PTSD, I will always recommend if you are having thoughts of suicide, if you're having thoughts of hurting yourselves or hurting others, to go seek help. And if you don't know where to seek help, the first place to start is a therapist or your pastor, like someone in your family, the police, like anyone. Just talking to someone else is the first step of making sure that you're okay.
Yeah, and yeah. And what did you I know you said you had to learn, or what was like the root cause of what all these feelings, and what did you learn about yourself, or what was stopping you from moving on?
Um, I I didn't address the sexual assaults that happened to me,
Yeah,
and I had to really dig deep because, like I said, for the longest time, I felt that it was my fault,
yeah,
and I carried that with me everywhere it went. And for a good amount of time, I didn't even call it sexual assault. Like I didn't even say
yeah,
that I was sexually assaulted. I just
yeah,
tried to brush it off.
yeah,
And like once I actually like admitted, okay, like this happened to me, then like I was able to just work through, like the healing process, which everyone
yeah,
heals differently and copes
yeah,
differently. Um, I feel like the best way that I can heal is by sharing and helping other people, because I definitely would have loved for someone to have told me back then, that these are the ways that you can protect yourself. These are, the ways that you can make sure that you're okay. And this is what you should do. Like, don't always resort. Like back then I was always drinking. I was like
yeah.
an alcoholic. um, but yeah, I feel like the best way that I'm healing now is just by helping other people.
Yeah, that's true. I guess one of my favorite quotes is like, the best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the servitude of others. Yeah, yeah, because that's actually something I had to learn to do when I used to go through my hard times, because the worst thing you do when you're depressed and is just stay in your room. Because you just like you say, depression is when you just focus on all these negative feelings you have, and if you find it hard for you to generate your own fulfillment, your own happiness, and go around and help other people, because what happens is when you help other people, their fulfillment, their happiness will feed off on you.
Yeah.
So, and that's one thing one of my aunties that passed away a long time ago, she always told me that, if you're going through a hard time and yourself, you always just go to a local church, go to a local community, go help some random person. And that action of helping somebody else and seeing what you did to them kind of just light their day up. And and they come out to you, you're going to feed off that. And they also remind you that you're still valuable in this world, because sometimes when you're in your lowest moments of your life, you feel like, oh, nobody cares about me. I have no value. I have no significance in this world. But then when you go help somebody and they tell you, oh, thank you so much for doing this for me, thank you for helping me, then you realize, oh, I do have some purpose here. I do have some value here. I mean, I still have some work to do here, so I gotta get myself up. So what are the things like? What are the things did you I guess methods did you do to start the healing process? And I'm just interested to hear because I know I'm sure a lot of people probably have gone through some kind of PTSD, and I know a lot of people today just watch this right now and they realize, oh my God, I have PTSD. So they just realize at this moment, oh my God. So I'm sorry if you just realized today you're watching you just realized by watching this that you have PTSD. I'm sorry. So but I'm glad you do know now. I'm glad you do know. You do know now. So if there is somebody out here watching this and they going through some kind of PTSD or something similar to PTSD, so once you realize for yourself what was stopping you, you realize the why. What did you do? What did the things they tell you to do to specifically do so you can heal? And I'm just interested if you can share that with everybody, the things that you did to yourself that you had to make changes within your life so you can start that healing process. And I just want people to hear that part.
So like the main one that I had shared, like when I was sexually assaulted, when I started healing through that, like first I addressed it with myself, and then I shared it. Like you don't have to share it either, but like I shared it with my husband, and I was able to work through my emotions. Like having, like, if you're not ready to go see a counselor, if you're not ready to talk to someone, or if you're not ready to go see a counselor, like talk to someone. And so I talked to my husband about it. I talked to my sister. I feel like my sister was like the best listener because I was able to literally like go through all of my emotions all over again. Like, and once I let it all out, like that's when I was like, I feel like that's when I was able to like shrug my shoulders, like sigh of relief. Like I finally let something out. And after that, I just started reading. I've been, for one of my self-developments, I've been just listening to sermons on YouTube. And if you don't know what sermon to listen to, just type in, like my favorite one is Michael Todd. Like I just type in Michael Todd and I listen to him, like when I'm doing the dishes, when I'm in the shower, when I'm cleaning. Like I try to find pockets of my day to where I can put more growth into my life rather than like finding something that's not adding value. Like instead of just like watching TV or like scrolling aimlessly through social media, I'm just trying to find something to fill me up, because I realized there's like so much that was taken out of me that I let other people take out of me, that I took out of myself, that I just need to start pouring back into myself. And like it doesn't even have to be a podcast. It can be listening to music. Like is the music that you're listening to, is that helping you be a better person? Is that developing you? Or is that not adding any value into your life? Like those are the questions I had to ask myself. And now when I'm driving, I don't listen to music. I listen to podcasts, I listen to audibles, anything I can do to like I said, just provide growth. But
Okay.
yeah, those are some of the healing steps that I've been taking.
All right. Did you do anything for physically as far as like health to help you? Did that help?
I've been trying since I got out the military. My workout routine, my exercise is definitely not the same as it used to be. I feel like the only time I actually get out and do exercising is either when I'm walking my dog.
Yeah.
And like, to be all honest, like if you struggle with working out or just finding an exercise routine, just going outside for a walk, for a mile walk, like a few laps around the block, like those over a certain amount of time will definitely like help you just like health wise.
Okay.
Yeah, I feel like when I was in the military too, sorry, I'm just like dragging this on.
No, you good.
When I was in the military, I was always overweight. Like I always had to do a height and weight, which is the taping. So like if you're not in the military, you have to meet a certain height and weight requirement for your age, and your height. And I was always over the weight. So I always had to get taped. And I just struggled. Like I struggled a lot with my weight. I struggled a lot with working out during like PT, like the morning, like physical training exercises. I was like one of the last ones. Like every time we went for the company one, I was always the last one. And I just put so much like pressure and stress on my body that like I was overworking myself. Like I did not know my limits at the time. So I was just always overexerting myself and then mentally feeling that like I was chunky, like I was too thick, I was too slow, you know, when in reality, like I'm not. Like I don't feel like I feel like however you view yourself, like nothing is wrong with that. Like you don't need society, you don't need social media or the movies or you know like what you see on TV. You don't need that to define your beauty, your worth, like how you look at yourself. And it wasn't until I got out of the military that I realized that I'm fine the way I am. Like all I want to do is just work towards my overall health, not to meet a certain weight requirement, and just making sure that I'm putting enough nutrients in my body.
Okay. And I think it's something you shared. I think it's a lot of people definitely need to hear is you shared that the importance of sharing it with someone. Sharing your struggles with someone, sharing a story, and that's something I always advise people. I think one of the biggest mistakes a lot of people do when they go through these, traumas or emotional struggles or depression or mental health is they try to deal with it alone. So I always advise people go find someone, find some because if you've gone through some mental health or depression, you already know it's like when you keep your emotions in, especially when it's negative emotions, it just weighs on you. And it just, like I said, it just builds up, honestly, it just builds and builds, it gets heavy and heavy. And it's really, really hard to do anything in your life. And if you inside, you have all these mixed feelings and traumas and mixed emotions that you constantly just bottle in. And it's not healthy. So I think you said it best, go find someone. So if you're out there right now watching this and you have a lot of things that you definitely need to heal and things you bottle in, I highly advise you to go and ask somebody, whether if it's go find a family member that that loves you unconditionally, that won't judge you, whether it's a family member, whether it's a friend. And if you can't find somebody, please seek professional help. Go find somebody, a professional. But it's not healthy to bottle it in. And you've been talking about it your whole life. You're just bottling all these emotions, and then and like you said, when you bottle a lot of emotions, like it tends to come out. It tends to come out in different ways and forms, and then one thing I've seen a lot, and you've mentioned before, you were alcoholic. when and I've got this in my own life, there was a point in time I used to drink a lot. But I realized that when you bottle a lot of emotions, you're gonna put so much energy to hide it.
Yes.
You're gonna put so much of your time and your focus and energy of just hiding it because it can be overwhelming. And what happens is if you start losing you start losing control of your emotions, then what we do is we find different outlets where you can make it easier on yourself, whether it's alcohol, whether it's drugs. Because you realize you can't control no more. So and that's something I realized when I look back. Honestly, there was a point in time in my life I was a low key alcoholic.
Low key,
but then, but then I look back at it now. It's like all these times I went to the club, and all these times I went to parties and stuff. I realized that I didn't go there for the party. I didn't go there for the to pop bottles and for the entertainment fun. I realized looking back now as I'm trying to reflect on myself, I went there because I wasn't happy with my life. I went there because I had so much inside that I was bottling in. So alcohol was my way of I was losing control. So it was my way to let go. Mm-hmm. That was my way of letting go. But then I used the alcohol as an excuse to let it go. But then when he went away, then I was able to kind of suppress it back down and then move on with my life. Mm-hmm. So now, so just want to put it out there. yeah, if you struggling internally, please get some help, and please go reach out to somebody. And if honestly, if you don't have somebody to talk to, I'll open up my social media. Reach out to me. Honestly, reach out to me, and then we can just have a quick conversation. Because the worst thing that happens with somebody when they just feel like they lose is when everything's just too heavy. Then the worst thing to do is you start having suicidal thoughts, and I don't want people to think that way. So it's so important to find ways to release things healthy, and that's what the news said, right? You found ways to let go of your trauma in a healthy way, where you're not hurting anybody, you're not hurting yourself. You're finding ways, and it's so important to find that healing, that finding that method of whatever method you want to use to let go of those emotions. But I guess the moral of the story is don't hold those negative emotions, let it go. Those things, it's, I guess, our best analogy, I always like to hear, is like negative emotions, it's like a rope. The tighter you hold onto it, it actually hurts your hand.
Yeah.
And when you let go of the rope, it's a lot easier to let go than just to hold on to a rope. So same thing. So just want to share anything you want to add to that before we move on.
No, that was great.
And also to put it out there, I'm not a therapist, I'm not a counselor. This is all opinion. So I'm just sharing you my experience. She's just sharing her experience of what we've done in our own lives, what we go through. So like I said, please don't go and say, hey, Will said he's I'm just I'm just giving you our own perspective and opinion and what we've gone through. I want to ask you, you left the military and you said you married your husband, right?
Mm-hmm.
Did you meet him at the military?
Yes.
Okay. I want to.
Go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead.
What do you want to ask?
No, I want to ask you, what's how hard can you ask about, because you said you were dealing with a lot of stuff. And anyway, I want to give a shout out to your husband, by the way. Just give him a shout out. Much love to him. Just hearing what you went through and the fact that he still loved you and took you in. That says a lot about him. So shout out to him. I should give him a quick shout out. Can you talk about that? You're really, when you came out trying to date again, mm-hmm. Even though you were still going through your own stuff. Mm-hmm. So can you kind of give advice to a lot of girls? Hey, because I know a lot of girls and guys, we all do this. That we haven't healed yet.
Yeah.
And we jump right into a relationship, and which is what you did. But lucky, but God bless, you found your husband. Yeah. All right, and you didn't read like a bad, terrible, toxic dude. Because but that's something I always advise to people. Please, if you've gone through something, heal before you go into a relationship. Because if you haven't healed yet, then you meet somebody that's toxic, they'll take advantage of that and they'll manipulate that. But can you talk about that? Come out of the military, you're going through a lot, and your experience of trying to find dating and just trying to and what and things that your husband helped you to give you that love from a man that helped you kind of heal in your own process. By the way,
it's pretty much word for word everything you said too. Like I'm so thankful for him. I'm so thankful for him to a point where it's just like I really I don't want anyone to go through what he had to go through with me. Like I feel if you are going through something, yes, heal first. Like thinking, I don't know how, I guess it's really tough for me just because I don't want to get emotional.
It's okay.
But no, he's helped me heal a lot, and it wasn't with him trying to help me either. It was seeing the damage that I was doing, that I was causing him, that really made me want to change. Because I'm, of course, when you're in a relationship, you guys are going to talk things out, you're going to give each other advice, and that's all great and dandy. But when I seen, because there was one day I was just having an episode, And I started taking out so much anger on him, and I was just throwing all these words at him, and he was already done. Like he was already like on his way out. He was packing all of his things, and I found myself alone, which is the bad thing to do. I found myself alone with a bottle and a knife. And of course, because he's an amazing man, he came back. He came back through those doors, and he was just like, "What are you doing? Like, why is this something that you're going to resort to?" And so it was like that really tough conversation that we had, where he was just like, he doesn't deserve this. He doesn't deserve to have to have, it wasn't like going through this like he was like sick of me. It was like him going through this like because I wasn't willing, like I wasn't strong enough to confront my issues. And then like that's pretty much like how the reason why I started like my healing was because of I seen how damaging it can be to someone else. And now I just realized that there's so many things I want to work on for myself. So I didn't stop there. I stopped with I kept going, and I just kept wanting to grow. But yes, shout out to that man for putting me on my
So I just wanted to talk about that, because I feel like like you said, the best thing to do if you're going through something, healing you first. But it's always good. God always works in mysterious ways, and He always surrounds us with good people. And also, just put it out there: if you happen to find somebody like good, like your husband, don't let that person go. Just take your pride out. I know you may have issues, and you may have. And I know a lot of you guys are probably going through some issues, but those type of people, those really, really good people out there, they are really, really hard to find in this world. So I just want to put out there, and if something, if you have somebody like that right now, and there's something causing you, go back to that person, because that's what I say. It's when like you said, when you're alone and going through your struggles, you don't realize how important it is to have good supporting people around you, whether it's a friend or whether it's a person or your partner. But just make sure. I want people to hear that, so that way, because I have been there. When we struggle, we tend to push people away, and I know that's a natural reaction that we do, right? Because we're going through so much pain, through so much struggle, and we have so much unresolved issues within ourselves. We tend to lash out sometimes, and then sometimes oftenly that we kind of misdirect the energy to the wrong people. Not on purpose, but it's just what happens. But if you do recognize that right now in your life that did happen to you, that you kind of misdirected your own struggles and and unresolved frustrations on somebody else right now, that in the fact in your life that's a good person in your life, you definitely need to keep. Please make them. If you have time, we'll make amends, and go and make amends and get those people around life, because of good people, it's really, really hard to find in the world. All right. Shout out to husband representing all the Samoans out there. You know what I'm saying? Samoan men. I know sometimes Samoan men don't really have a good rap, but and Tonga men too. But it's always good to see the good guys. It's always good to see that Polynesian men, we're good, man. We're some good men out there, for sure. I do want to ask you about your journey of self-development. I want to ask you about your journey of going to be starting to be an entrepreneur. So that's something I always love. I always get inspired, or I always feel I love it when I see other Polynesians making changes, focusing on their life, developing themselves, be better, starting a business, being an entrepreneur. I feel like that's something that's a narrative I want to push out a lot more to the Polynesian community, to work on your goals, work on your dreams, be an entrepreneur, do something to better your life, better situation. Because I feel like we're just because I know Polynesians, we're comfortable, we like to we're very, very comfortable people. And it's just sad, and I do realize a lot of the struggles that we go through is because we don't never get out of that comfortableness, because I guess one of my favorite quotes I ever hear is like, there's no happiness without progress. I remember my mentor told me that a long time ago. He said, look, the reason why self-development is so important is because you can't truly be happy if you're not progressing in your life. Because if you're always stuck in the same position over and over, and you don't never see things get better, then it's really, really, really hard to be happy. Because happiness comes from improvement, from things getting better, to give you hope that tomorrow is going to be a better day. Mm-hmm. But if you never do anything to improve your life, if you never try to improve mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, financially, you're always stuck in the same position, same situation year after year. Then all you focus on is like the negativity, and then you start losing confidence or hope that things can be better, and that's when sadness, misery, and depression sets in. So it's really, really important to always do something to improve yourself, it doesn't matter what you choose and however small it is, but it's just the fact that you know that your life is leading towards something. Like you have a goal, you have a purpose in your world, you have some kind of value in this world. God created you for a reason. That's what progress does. That's why it's so important to do something to progress your life. But so I want to ask you, what was the biggest thing that you learned when you started working on yourself to self-develop yourself? Can you start with your mindset?
Yeah.
Because I believe mindset's everything. If you want to change your life, I always tell people everything starts here. Every thought, everything we feel, everything we see, everything we interpret, believe, always starts from the mind. And if you can change your thought process of how you think and focus on things mentally, then everything in your life will start to change. So can you talk about your mindset? What was your mindset before? And what were your beliefs that you believed in and that you could do? And I'm sure you talked about self-limiting beliefs. We all have these self-limiting beliefs. So you can talk about your mindset. What was your beliefs? What was your self-limiting beliefs? And how did you see life with your own mindset and compared to your mindset that you have today?
Well, aside from everything I've already shared, I feel like mindset-wise, I definitely, like, I always felt that I wasn't good enough. Like, I wasn't smart enough.
Yep.
Every time I wanted to, like, I always felt like I wanted to help others. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to use like whatever platform I could to help others, whether I had a huge platform or a small platform. I just wanted to help. But my mindset always told me, like, what can you provide? Like, what can you do for other people? Like, you can't do anything for them. And I always use that, like, I'm not in a place to, like, I'm not in a financial, like, I wasn't financially stable. I was mentally stable. Emotionally, I was definitely not stable. Because of like all of these things, like, what can you do? And I just did not, I didn't understand the importance of self-developing. Mm-hmm. And like, I just felt like, okay, going to church every Sunday, like, that was good enough for me. Like, I'm providing some type of, like, growth in
my
that's fine.
Yeah.
But that, like, I'll get into the after part later.
and by the way, that's the Polynesian version of so that's a Polynesian solution for everything. If you're not happy, go to church. If you're not growing, go to church. If you're broke, go to church. They always every that's their solution for everything. It's like, go to church, pray more, and then you figure it out. Mm-hmm. And I remember hearing that. I was like, no.
Yeah, for the longest, I literally thought that was self-developing. Like, and I wasn't a reader. I'm still kind of not a reader. Mm-hmm. I didn't like listening to podcasts. I like everything that was filling my mind was, I was use this word, it's not of value. Like, it didn't mm-hmm. add any value to my life.
Yeah, to your life. Yep.
Mm-hmm. And when I started, so that was the before. I don't know if that answered like your question, but before.
Yeah.
And after, like, now, I don't think I can get like enough self-developing.
Yeah.
Like, every day I feel like I need, like, you have to make time for yourself every day. Like, you have to put down your phone. Like, my business is mostly on social media, and I still need to find time to put down my phone. Um, I put down my phone and make time for myself, whether it be journaling or um, meditating, praying, just relaxing. Um, I'm starting to read. I'm more of like, like I like someone else reading to me.
Yeah, audiobook. Yes, that still works too. That still works.
And that works. Like it took a lot for me to realize what kind of learner I am. Because like I realized that, especially within my business, that you're always going to be a student of the business. You're always going to be a student of your job. Like if you stop yourself from growing, then, or if you stop yourself from learning, then you just stop. Like,
Yeah.
like you, like this business, like it really helped me realize that I need to always be hungry. I need to always be hungry to want more, to want to learn more, to learn how to be better, how to make myself better. And now like I'm still like, it's always going to be a work in progress for me, but I feel like even if I'm not in a like, even if I'm not where I want to be yet, I will still share my story. Like I will still share all of the goals that I have, everything that I've been through, because like no matter where I am, someone else could be watching me saying that I'm where they want to be. And I don't want to be the person, like I don't want to not be able to provide like any kind of insight that I can, so that person watching me or that person watching my story can better themselves.
Yeah, and that's why I always tell people, your mindset is really, really important because, and just to pick it back on what you said, like every day you're doing something to improve, to focus on yourself, to kind of self-develop yourself and to improve your mind. And one thing I always learned from my mentors, he always said, like, you have to constantly feed your mind. Your mind is like your body, right? So if you eat McDonald's every day, what's going to happen? What is going to happen to your body, right? If you eat junk food every single day, then you're going to feel like junk, right? You're going to feel unhealthy, right? But if you eat healthy every single day, then you're going to feel healthy, and your mindset is the same way because everything. Because honestly, just the way I see, everything is life is just a perspective, right? Some people just focus on the negative, are pessimistic and think, oh, I will never get out of this neighborhood. I will never get out of this situation. I don't have the money. I'm broke. You can choose to focus on all the reasons why your life will never improve. You can choose all the reasons why you will never become who you want to be. You can choose all the excuses of what's stopping you from actually doing what you need to do. And then what happens is when you focus on negativity, then what happens? You're going to feel negative emotions, and negative emotions is fear. That's why a lot of people feel. You're going to feel doubt, insecurity, and so that's why it stops people from actually taking action. But if you choose to focus on the positive side of life, like it's a perspective to be optimistic, there is an opportunity, I can choose all the reasons why it will work out. I can choose on the things that I need to work on as a person. I can choose on all the positive things about life to be grateful. Then naturally, when you choose on the positive things, you feel positive. And so you feel feelings of encouragement, you feel feelings of inspiration, you feel feelings of gratification and appreciation about yourself and your own ability and confidence. And then what happens is you take action. And then when you take action, things happen. But if you don't do anything, then nothing will ever change. And that's why I always say it's so important to feed your mind, because if you feed your mind, then you always have the ability to stay focused at times, because as humans, we're naturally negative because we are born with emotions. But that's why every single day, if you feed yourself positive books, positive learning, positive people, positivity, and that's something I do every single day. I always try to feed myself positive things in my mind. I've got this point of I've got the point of time in my life right now where when I meet people or things or situations, if I don't see that person or that thing or that situation adding value to my life, I just happily leave it out. Right? Yeah, because you have to constantly wire your brain, like reprogram your mind to stay positive, because as human beings, we're naturally negative because the world is negative. So if you don't take control of your mindset, then what happens is instead of being proactive and taking action, then you're just reactive. You're always going to react to your environment, and then you become a product of your environment instead of being a product of your decisions. So and most people, they're just victims. They have that victim mentality, just victims of their environment, victim of the situation. But that's why it's so important to start with your mindset and constantly feed it. So do something today, y'all. Do something today to feed your mind. But I want to ask you, because you're Polynesian, and a lot of people that watch my podcast are Polynesian. So why do you feel like Polynesians struggle to progress? Why do you feel Polynesians struggle to try new things, to work towards the goals and dreams, and get out their comfort zone? Because we're very comfortable people. I have my own views, but I'm just interested in you. You grew up Polynesian. You got, he's around Polynesian people. The culture. But why do you feel like Polynesians struggle with change and trying to improve themselves and go for something that's go for a better life?
There's two for me. The first one that just comes to mind is complacency.
Yeah.
A lot of Polynesians are just comfortable with where they're at. They're comfortable with where their family is. Go
ahead. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, they feel like, I don't know if they feel, but from my perspective, it just seems like they're just comfortable with everything. Like they don't want to strive for more. Whether I'm interpreting that wrong, I'm not so sure, but
no, that is true. But I'm asking, where do you feel like that complacency comes from? Where are we getting that from? I ask you.
I feel like it's just from judgment. I feel like probably because I don't think I'm on the other end of the spectrum, but I feel like the Polynesians who are comfortable with where they're at are very judgy, judgmental on the Polynesian community that are striving to do better. And because they are judging others for wanting more for their life and for their future, that they are forced into staying where they are.
Yeah. So I know you said there was two, so that was one. What was the other one?
Oh, that was both of them mixed up. I kind of
Okay. Yeah. So no, that's absolutely true. I see that all the time. Polynesians that they're very judgmental, and for me, that I never can understand. Well, I do understand because it's a mentality thing, but for me, it doesn't make sense. Why would you hope criticize your own blood or your own Polynesian people? Do you get a lot of support from your own family and friends, from your own Polynesian people, family and friends of being an entrepreneur and starting your own business? Do you get a lot of support?
Thankfully, I do.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of it kind of goes both ways. So my siblings and my immediate family, they're all really supportive in what I've been doing. My parents weren't so much supportive of me getting out of the military though, but they were supportive in my decision to start this business. There have been a handful of Polynesians who grew up in the same area as me, who aren't as supportive. I feel like they would try and put it in a nice way too. There hasn't been any rude comments from people that I know. There have been a lot of judgment from people that I don't know though. Polynesians that I don't know at all.
What they say?
Ooh. This one, it doesn't really have much to do with my business with my company, but it did start because of my business. So I have a malu, and I received my malu 2000.
Malu is the tattoo. Yeah.
And I received it in 2019. Long story short, my parents, they my mom and my stepdad, they wanted me to get a malu like since I was 21 years old, but I kept telling myself, and I kept telling them no because I didn't speak the language, and I always felt that like I'm not even like Samoan. Why am I gonna get this tattoo? But like my mom, she definitely like made it known that one of her last wishes for me is that I get a malu because she has one.
Mm-hmm.
And on my 25th birthday, I went back to Western Samoa. I went through the whole ceremony, like I did the whole thing to receive my malu, and I just felt that because even though I didn't speak Samoan, because I had my parents' blessings, because I did it the traditional way, the best way that I could, that I'd be accepted for it, or that I'd be, well off. And it was like a month after when I got back, I went to this little workout thing, like this Polynesian workout, and there were a few other like older ladies and one of them had a malu, and she walks up to me after, like everything was fine, like we're all just like talking and taking pictures, and then she was like saying like, oh, you have a nice malu, like it looks really nice, and she was like, do you speak Samoan? And I was just like, oh no, like not yet. Not yet, which is not yet. But I was wearing my yellow lava, and I had it up so of course you could see my malu. But once I told her that I didn't know how to speak it, I didn't know this lady. Once I told her I didn't know how to fully speak it, she comes up to me and she pulls down my ear. And she tells me like to my face that, oh, you should not show this off then. Like you cannot show this off if you don't know how to speak Samoan. Yeah. And oh, my blood was boiling.
Oh, yeah, she pulled your ear down, huh?
Yeah. And I was like, I didn't say anything to her. Like I was just trying to be respectful and get out the situation. But I don't know, like it took me, like I ended up calling every single one of my family members, like call my mom, my dad, and they're just all talking to me about it. And it was then that I realized not everyone is going to know your story. Not everyone is going to support your story or agree with you, and that's completely fine. Like you don't have to sit here and tell every single person why they should see things the same way as you do. And I feel like I took that with me even when it comes into my business too, like being an entrepreneur, and I may not have everyone like me and everyone agree with me, or they may just see things like, oh, why are you doing this? You're in no position to. Like that part, or that with that situation happening, like that is a part of my story now, and I feel like it's definitely like helped me grow to realize that the only like I'm like, as long as I'm comfortable with myself, and truthfully as long as like my parents are comfortable with the decision that I got my malu, then I'm going to be completely okay. And it's the same thing with my business.
Damn, I let you just touch you throw some hands on it.
I was trying. I was mad, but I'm a crier, so as soon as I just start crying.
I know. It's funny. It's like that's something. And that's the first time I've heard that type of story. Where I mean, I've heard some people like just say some nice things, but I never heard of someone just pulling your ear down, and damn, that's crazy. No, I do want to. No, it's going back to the original question that we talked about. Why a lot of Polynesians find it comfortable. I know you mentioned the judgment, right? The criticism of judgment. Yeah, I think that's something. I just see culturally that if you do something different, or do something that they can't recognize or identify you as within their own culture, then I always see Polynesian people, it's they're always willing to judge and criticize people. And that's one of the reasons, that's one of the reasons why I started this, because I just noticed a lack of a lack of safe place for people, whether it starts at the home, whether it's the community. Don't even start at social media. Social media, they're like, they go off on social media. But I just realized that that's why I feel like that because of we were talking about mindset, right? When you grow, one thing I always tell people that the importance of trying new things and expanding your mindset, because it allows you to put yourself in other people's shoes and develop understanding that somebody else can be different. And like I said, as a Polynesian people, and if you're listening, I realize a lot the reason when somebody's criticizing you and people hating you and blaming you, that always comes from insecurity and the lack of understanding. Because part of growth, right? Part of growth is understanding that people are that you're gonna have to challenge yourselves, and the world is different, and you have to be able to grow and get to a different level, and that's part of growth. The change is necessary, because when you're growing, you have to change. You change becomes your best friend. Going out to comfort zone becomes your person. That's part of growth, and that's what happens when you start growing and developing yourself. You realize you have to make changes not only mentally, but emotionally. So when you meet people who are different than you, and the concept of change of somebody that's different, that's normal to you, because you have to grow to a different person. So when you see different people, then you're willing to understand different people. But as a culture, because we always like to stick to what we know and we're comfortable, then our mindset stays the same. Then when you hear or see somebody that's different, they can't process that, to see that as something that's normal. For me, because I've grown so much throughout the years, that I know who I am 5 years ago is I'm not even close to the person. If you know me 5 years ago, you probably don't know me today.
Yeah.
A lot of the things I was interested in doing 5 years ago, like if I went back to who I was 5 years ago, 10 years ago, and try to have me and that person is totally different, different mindset. My interest is no longer the same. So I realized for myself that I grew throughout the years. So change is a norm to me. So when I meet people who are different than me, that's normal to me, because I know that everyone's different, because my mindset has changed. But I feel like if you never improve, your mindset, then you will never be able to accept somebody else's different opinion, different experience, different story. And then we're just so quick to judge and blame and victim, because in order to understand somebody, you have to have a different type of mindset, right? You gotta have compassion, you gotta have patience, you gotta have empathy, you gotta have love. These are things, emotions that you develop by expanding your mind. But if you're always limited, then you're always going to judge people. So yeah, for everyone out there, just want to say, let's create a platform and where people can be open, people can be themselves, and let's not judge each other, because judging doesn't do anything at all. Doesn't help anybody. Okay, just wanted to put it out there. Just want to put it out there to my Polynesians out there. I do want to ask you is what was the I guess the hardest, you talked about self-development and growth for you. What was the hardest changes for you that was really hard for you to change from within yourself?
I think the hardest part for me was communication.
Yeah.
Learning to communicate, for one, and then how to communicate.
Okay. How was your communication skills before?
I was always angry. If I wasn't angry, I was angry crying.
Yeah.
And everything. And, I'm just now learning this, that a lot of times when I communicate, or when I'm trying to prove, not prove a point, but just say my side, it comes off really aggressive.
Yeah.
Whether it's because of my word choice or the tone of my voice.
Yeah.
And that was one hard for me to accept, because I kind of take pride in the way that I talk, but then there goes pride, and not like you can talk. I realize that you can talk as much as you want and you can say things as much as you want, but if the person on the other end isn't receptive towards it, then you're doing
yeah.
And the same both ways. Like if someone's trying to communicate to you and you're not willing to listen or to understand or have compassion to understand their point of view, whether you agree with it or not, then there's
never gonna be any kind of communication.
Mm-hmm. So that was definitely the hardest part for me to learn, and still learning it, working through it. This pride is a tough thing to get rid of, but it's a work in progress.
Yeah, that's really true. And I know you talked about it early in your childhood that you had you didn't really have a lot of open communication with your parents. Mm-hmm. So that's something I just see a lot within the culture itself. But yeah, open communication is really, really important. I think it's one of the, if I had to think about one of the most important skills in life to learn to be successful, that's probably up there.
Yep.
Open communication, because you have to, in order to build anything in life, whether you're gonna build a business or build something, you need people. And if you can't connect with people, you're gonna struggle. Your life is gonna be you're gonna have a really tough life, or maybe lonely life. But that's why open communication is key. When it comes to open communication, in your opinion, what's the most important thing in open communication? I have my own answer, but I'm just interested to hear your thoughts on
that. Being ready to hear.
Yes.
I want to hear. Or yeah.
So being ready to hear what?
Like to be ready to hear the toughest, even if it's something you don't want, even if it's something that you don't want to hear, or you're it's something that you don't agree with, just being ready to receive it. Because if you're telling someone okay, this is an open line, say whatever you want to say, be ready for them to tell you the brutal and honest truth, and vice versa. Same for me. I feel that's definitely important, is just being ready to receive.
Yeah, if you willing to give your opinion, then you have to be ready to receive it.
Mm-hmm.
And some people like to give it and don't want to don't want to hear it. Yeah. That sounds like Polynesians. No, it's funny. I guess my best one I thought of when it came to open communication is listening. We tend to, when it comes to communication, a lot of people, they tend to listen to reply instead of listening to understand.
Yes.
And for me, I read this thing by Nelson Mandela. One of my favorite things about reading, there was a story about him, and I was reading, and he said that and of course, if you don't know Nelson Mandela, please go read a book, please. Please go read a book. That's all I want to say. You should know who that's one of the most influential people in this world. I remember something that I was reading, and then he said that the one thing he does, and of course, if you know who it is, Nelson Mandela is one of the best leaders, most influential people ever in this world. But one thing he always did when he had a meeting was he would always allow everyone to speak first, even though he is the president, even though he was the head of the meeting, he was in charge, but he would always allow everybody to speak first before he spoke. He always wanted to give everybody an opportunity to speak what they wanted to hear, and he always wanted to listen first. And I think that's a very great quality. And I'm telling you right now, a lot of people, you would avoid a lot of issues if you listen before you react. And that's something I've just learned for myself is whenever I have a misunderstanding with somebody, or if someone did something that I consider wrong, I consider okay, that sounds like a problem, I will always ask that person, hey, and ask that person and allow them to speak and tell their side. And because a lot of times things happen that we kind of take it out of proportion, and we don't have all the facts, and we just see one side. So that's something I always advise everybody. Make sure you definitely I'm telling you, if you have an issue with somebody or somebody mistreats you or says something about you, I'm telling you, go ask them first and get to hear their side of the story. And a lot of time you will hear that there's a reason. There's a reason, and you can kind of talk it out before just turning into some mad person, some mad person. So I want to ask. So I know you're on social media. I know you do your influence thing. What made you start posting stuff on social media and putting yourself out there?
On social media specifically, I just felt like that was the best way to reach a certain group of audience, like a certain group, which honestly, like the people that I wanted to reach out to the most was the Polynesian community. And nowadays technology is just all, like social media is the fastest way to get like your business up and running. But I feel like it's just like the fastest way for me to like help as many people as I can, especially with not being in the same location as a lot of them. I wasn't a social media person before this.
Yeah.
Like I was that person who like only shared like memes and like reposts and stuff. But the amount of like growth that has happened since I started sharing it's still like overwhelming to me. Like I don't have like that many followers, but like just the amount of support like that I get from people like all over is very overwhelming. And I'm just glad that like I'm in Hawaii, but I'm like able to help people in Samoa, in New Zealand, in Washington. Like now, like I feel like my like the path that I have now for the amount of people I can help is just like expanded, like to every which way. And yeah, that's why I use social media.
Can you talk about what do you do when because I feel a big part of our life, especially when it comes to self-development, is like dealing with failure, dealing with so can you talk about that? Like, what's your how do you deal with failure? Because I'm sure you made a lot of mistakes in your life. We just had a whole conversation about it in your life, but I feel like that's something we definitely struggle with Polynesians, because you already know if you're Polynesian, like especially if you're a Polynesian woman, the expectation to be perfect is like, it's a lot of like pressure. And this is a conversation I hear from a lot of Polynesian women all the time. They're always like, oh my God, like my family wants to be perfect. My church wants to be perfect. Even the Polynesian men, that's what they're looking for. They're looking for perfect Polynesian women. So sometimes, and that's something I always preach to my younger siblings and my younger family members. Like, hey, look, it's okay to fail, but not only for themselves, but for like their growth. To understand that later for their own preparation for their own life when they grow up, I want them to know, hey, it's okay to fail and make mistakes. That's where we learn the most. I'm just interested to hear your perspective on it. Like, you've gone through a lot of failures in your life, and there's been a lot of times that you shared you could have given up, but you found some way to keep going. So how do you deal with failure? What's your relationship with failure? And if you want to talk about before, how to deal with failure, and how do you deal with it now?
I don't know. I feel like before, every time like I failed at something, like I just stayed down there. Like I did not, like every time I failed, I was always like so complacent that like I just didn't want to grow. I was like, okay, I'm at the bottom. Like I never seen that. Like the only like way to go is up. I always felt like I'm at the bottom. I just might as well stay here. And then after a while, like I was listening to this sermon last week about failure, and I was like able to reflect on a lot of things that like I had failed in the past, and the pastor said that your success is carried, or how do you phrase it? He was just like, your success is built on a mountain of failures. I think that's how he put it.
Yeah.
But you can't succeed. You can't be successful if you don't fail. Like failure is going to be inevitable in your life. And if you fear failure, then you're fearing growth and you're fearing change and improvement. So every year I have a word of the year for myself.
Oh, nice.
And this year, my word is resiliency. And resilient is the bounce back, like being able to bounce back from something. So that way, like every day or every time I fail this year, I'm just going to remind myself to be resilient and to not stay down, but to just try and bounce back up from it.
Yeah, I love how you said every single time you failed, and you remind yourself to be resilient, right? You just spit some fire right there. I have to write that down. So no, and I just want to point that out because if you saw, I don't know if you paid attention to that, what you're pretty much saying is like you redefined what failure meant to you. Before you said that failure meant falling down, and then you changed it and redefined it that okay, when failure happens, you see it as being resilient. So if everybody out there, if you're struggling with failure, if you're struggling with making mistakes, number one, just understand mistakes is part of life. Like like the pastor, you can't build success. Success is on top. Is building success. Success is on top of a mountain of failure. I think that's what you said. And like I said, you can't be perfect. You can't. You're gonna fail. You're gonna make mistakes. For humans, no one's perfect. So everybody out there that's struggling, understand that if you fail, there's a lesson out of it. You get to learn from that lesson and bounce back. But don't ever feel like you're failures. There's a difference between failing. That's one of my favorite quotes. There's a difference between failing and failure. We all fail. But what separates failure and failing is giving up. So if you give up, then inevitably you become a failure. But if you never give up, no, you just fail. But you still have. But if you never give up, keep trying, then you always improve and get better. And for me, like you have your definition of failure as resilient. For me, failing means learn. That's why I program myself. So when I fail at something, I actually get excited. When I failed, I'm like, yeah, I'm learning. I'm gonna learn today. I'm gonna learn something today, and that excites me when you learn something new about yourself. That kind of excites me. So that's for everybody out there. I want to ask you after everything you've gone through in your life, as hard as it may be, what do you feel like was like your hardest and most difficult failure to overcome, as all the things you've gone through in your life?
I think it would have definitely been the times when I was rebellious in high school and like in my adolescence. Like to me, like right now, I look at that as like a failing moment for my life, just because I wasn't living up to the potential that I could have. And yeah, like if I were to have changed anything, it probably would have been that moment, just because that carried so much weight onto my view of relationships and my view of love, and like most importantly, my view of my parents. Like at the time when I was like going through all of that, I was definitely failing as a daughter. I was not being a great daughter because I didn't understand. Like I didn't have, I wasn't old enough, and I just didn't have the mindset to understand what both of my parents and my stepdad were going through at the time. Because now that I'm more mature and I have a decent understanding of life and love, I fully respect like both of my parents and the decisions that they made for themselves. And I love my stepdad. Like he's like my best friend now.
Yeah, I want to ask you, oh my God, I had the question. It was loaded. It was locked and loaded. Oh my God. I had a really good question to ask you. Give me a couple seconds. I know it's gonna come back. I know he had to do something with failure. He had something to do with failure. Oh, I'm so mad at myself. Oh, I'm so mad at myself. I had this question. Oh my. No, let me think about it, and then if not, I'll just go on to the next one. Oh yes, bro, I remember now. Whew, okay, all right. So I don't know if you've ever gone through this, but have you ever looked back at your life? I mean, like you said, you've gone through a lot of growth, and you've totally become a better person today, happier person today, a stronger person today. Have you ever looked in the back of your life and just like in introspecting and reflecting, like, and see all the things you went through, and be like, oh my god, like how did I survive through that?
Yeah.
You have thought about that?
Yeah.
So yeah. So the question I want to ask you is like, I know there's a lot of girls right now, all men too, that have gone through some terrible things in their life, and as hard as my life is, it's not even compared. Nothing compared. I've gone through my own pains, but it's nothing compared to what you've gone through, and that's why I have so much love and respect for you. The fact that you're resilient, like you said, and you're still standing today and making the best of your life, and that's just and for everybody who's listening, that's life. Life. We all burn different circumstances, but I want you to speak to the people that are going through some terrible, things in their life right now that I can't even think of. But have you ever looked back at your life and like, what kept you going? You ever thought about that? I don't know if you ever think about that, like just like because you look at where you are now, and you look at oh my god, how did I make it, and to make it this far. So did you ever think like that at any point in time in your life? Now, like because right now you're a whole. I mean, did you ever think you'd be where you're at right now back then?
Not at all.
Exactly, right? You know what I'm saying? So like where you're right now, you're like, oh my god, how did so I always do that for myself. Like, I look back at my life like, how the hell did I get to, I'm doing a podcast now. I've never thought that would get here, but I'll give you my answer right after. But what drove, like, out of all, when you look back at it now, what was the thing that kept you going as hard and as painful as life is? Like, what do you think that allowed you to keep going? If you want to look back, was it a purpose? Did you have a purpose? Like, did you believe in a purpose, like, or something? But I'm just interested to hear your answer.
When I was going through everything, like, I felt like every step of my life, I had no idea what my purpose was.
Yeah.
So I don't know. A lot of times it was just, I just wanted, like, even though it sounds kind of like selfish, I just wanted to prove everyone wrong. Like, okay. I wanted to prove everyone, but most importantly, I wanted to prove myself wrong. I feel like I do best under pressure. I do best when I'm in like a sticky situation or something is bad, like something bad happened. Like, I look at that as my opportunity to grow and to, like, I pretty much just use that as my opportunity to be the best that I can be. Is that how I looked at it back then? Probably not. I probably was just like, maybe
unintentionally or unaware.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like every time I was in that moment, I was just like, I just need to get out. I have no idea if that's like exactly how it happened. But the way that I look back at it now, like after, the way that I look back at my entire life is, it was definitely a perspective change for me. Like, before, I used to look back on everything that had happened, and I just used to be so sad. And I was miserable, and I was just like, damn, I really had to go through all of that. Like, what the hell, like that. Like, that was my mind. And now I'm just like, I'm like so proud of myself. Like, it was a hard switch, but I was able to like switch my thought process into being more grateful for having gone through certain things. And it's just a little perspective change.
Yeah. That's I wanted to ask it because like because I guess what shows you how powerful a person how powerful we can be, even though we may not be aware how powerful we are. Because the fact that you made it to where you are today, that shows how powerful you are, and you had that power within you your whole life. But it's just, but life was just too hard to recognize our own power. And even to myself, like when I look back at my life now, like I used to thought I was weak back then. I used to thought I wasn't weak, but then by reflecting, I look back like, no, I wasn't weak. Like how the hell was I able to survive all this shit that I went through in my life? No, I was pretty strong. I was really pretty powerful. The fact that I've made it here shows me that I'm a pretty powerful person. So I guess what I wanted to portray to the listeners out there, that you don't know how powerful you are, and you're always more powerful than you think. And I know sometimes life can distract us. I know life is hard, life is difficult, life is painful. And I know sometimes when you're in the moment, then all we're focused on is the circumstances, and we forget our own strength. But I'm just saying is, people don't realize how powerful they are until later in life, and you look back and everything's done. But it's good. But I guess I wanted to feed that into their perspective today, to add that to their mental toolbox, to always look back at your life, make it a habit, make it look back at your life and see how far you've come. And I've always that's something I always do. Whenever I do have my moments when I kind of lose focus. And then instead of dwelling on my lack of focus or dwelling on the things I want to achieve, I'm not there yet, that kind of gives me some kind of fear or insecurity. Instead of looking forward, I always look back and then see, okay, oh dang, you know what? I know I'm not where I want to be. I know I just failed miserably right now towards my goals, but
I can get
yeah, exactly. But you know what? I made it this far. I made it. I was looking back, you know what? I've made it this far. I didn't come here. I didn't come this far just to make it this far. If I made it this far, I can definitely take another step again. I can definitely try again tomorrow. But yeah, that's something I just want to defeat everybody. So I know a lot of people out there going through some terrible things in this world that happens every day. But I just want to remind people how powerful you are. That if you were able to make it as terrible, as disgusting yesterday was, the fact that you woke up today and kept going, that just shows you everything you need to know about yourself. So that's something I just wanted to share with everybody. You don't know how powerful you are, and start adding that to your perspective and mental plus. Like if you went through yesterday and you woke up today, today's a blessing. You made it. Keep going. If you can make it through today, you can make it through tomorrow. You can make it through tomorrow. You can make it. So yeah, I just wanted to share that. And thank you for sharing that. And thank you for sharing that perspective. I do want to ask you, one thing I always want to talk about is like what we're going to pass on to the next generation. I feel like that's also one of the things that inspires me on my personal growth journey. Not only I want to be the best version of myself, and I want to grow to be the best, but I always want to make sure that when I start a family one day, I want to be like happy. I want to be a happy dad. And that's why I always believe. That's why I believe personal growth is important, because one thing I do see, people don't work on their personal growth and they're unhappy and they're broken, and then they end up having kids and they become broken dads and moms, and then they feed that unbrokenness to their kids, and that's why I feel a lot of these generational things that happen gets passed on. So I want to ask you, but I don't know yet. But do you have kids or no?
No.
Yeah, or no? Oh, no. Okay. But I want to ask you. I'm sure you and your husband have plans to be parents one day. What are you going to do different when you have kids? And I always like to ask this question, because I feel like it's part of responsibility as people is to make sure that the people that come after us have a better life than us. And I feel like that's just like something, a universal thing as being human beings. It's our purpose in life to be the best, but we should always try to add value to other people, but also when we have families one day, like to make sure that the things that we went through never ever happens to them. So I'm just interested to hear your perspective. When you have kids one day, like what are you going to do differently, especially when it comes to talking, communicating, raising, feeding, that you're going to do differently, way differently compared to how you grew up.
Yeah, no, we definitely, we have already talked about waiting until we are both mentally ready. That was a big thing for the both of us.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like as of right now, a lot of the main thing, of course, I want to do differently is having that open line of communication, which is like why I want to work so hard on being able to receive, like to be on the receiving end of the communication line. Because like I want my kids to be comfortable enough to come to me and tell me anything. Like a lot of times growing up, I didn't, of course, like I didn't feel like I could go to my parents about what I was going through or things that were happening with my body and experiences that like females experience, like growing up. And I just want to have that open line, especially at a younger age with my kids, because I feel like when like you set that ground when they're younger, then when they do start to get older and they start to like explore, then you can tell them, like you can be open with them about how to protect themselves, like how to protect themselves, like having sex and everything like that. And yeah, like I just felt like that was like so, like especially as a female, like that would have been so helpful for me, like in my growth, if I had realized it or if I had known about it when I was younger and not learning about how to take care of my body until I got to like into the army. Like I don't want that for my kids. Like I want to learn, like I want my kids to know how to be healthy and clean and brand, like, and continuously, like annually, like have checkups. Like if you're female, like I know I'm so like getting so far into there, but yeah, I just want to build that open line of communication with my kids.
Okay. All right.
No,
it's cool. It's cool. No, it's good. Like, no, I was like, no, well, I'm interested to hear your opinion. As far as Samoan culture, I know you had your good and bad experiences of it. So if there is something, if when you do teach your kid about the Samoan culture, what are the things that you feel like that you're gonna teach her, about the culture, that to prepare her for the things that you struggle with growing up culturally?
I will hope that I will be like at least like 90% fluent within my language.
Yeah.
I have kids, just because like of course like teaching, like passing on the languages is very important, and I just so wish I had learned it when I was younger.
Does your husband speak it?
He speaks it better than I do.
So you're both working together, trying to figure it out.
But yeah, of course, like I want my kids to be able to speak the language, and like I feel like of course language is like very important, but I just want them to know like just like the true importance of like our Samoan culture. Like I'm still learning it to this day, and like I don't want my kids to like have to grow up not knowing. Like I want them to know when they're younger, so they're not learning about it when they're 26 years old.
Gotcha. Okay. I guess the last thing we can cover. I just want to talk about mental health, and I know you brought it up. I want to talk about like being confident as a Samoan woman when it comes to your beauty, to your body. That's something I wanted to talk about, because I know a lot of Polynesian. There's a type of topic I always hear a lot of Polynesian women talk about is Polynesian women. Polynesians, we're built different. You know what I'm saying? We're built we're a little bit built different compared to everyone else, and but that's okay. That is absolutely okay. Where everybody's beautiful and different. But that can be hard when we live in Western society and all we see is skinny people. We can compare. And of course social media. We have the comparison. We're always comparing ourselves. So can you talk about that? What was your relationship with your body growing up in a really young age, and then and of course you went through a lot of phases in your life. But at what point of time did you like start learning about embracing your body and loving yourself and loving your body and self-love and being confident of who you are? Because I know that's like a popular topic I always hear from a lot of Polynesian girls, and they struggle with that.
I feel like the generation now is definitely different from, like, I'm only 26, but it
Yeah.
wasn't when I was going through high school either. Because honestly, I really didn't care that much about like my body type, and
Yeah.
like if I was overweight or skinny, like, or if I had a butt, like I didn't care.
Yeah.
back then.
Yeah.
Like I didn't start caring until
Until the army.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, like it was then, like, when of course I had to worry about my weight and just meeting like weight requirements, which that also, like, it just, of course, it played like a huge part on like my self-image, because if I didn't meet the army's weight, then I was just always like, oh dang, I'm just fat, like I'm just chunky. Like I just associated that with my self-worth. um but I feel like if I were to tell anything to, like, especially like the female, like the Polynesian female in the army who are struggling, because there's a lot too who are like who are fit and whatever, but like for the female women who are struggling with their weight in the military, do not, like, as hard as it is, do not let that define the way that you look at yourself. Like, I feel like now I just look at it kind of just like any other like employment job. Like if you were to go into the police academy, or if you were to be like a firefighter, like they all have height and weight requirements, which is fine. Like that's for the job, but that does not define you as a person. Like you're a person before you are the job. Like I'm Sunga, like especially when I was in the military, I'm Sunga before I was Sergeant Yopu. And I'm just mad that it took me this long to realize it. But yeah, just remember that you are beautiful and you're worthy, you are loved, and just to have, I like using this saying, but just give yourself grace.
Oh yeah, I like that. I like that. I'll write that down. Into grace. That's fire right there. That's a good quote. All right. I know we discussed in the beginning of the podcast, but I think we talked about it throughout the story. But I don't know if you want to add on anything to it. Talk about the mental health when it comes to the army, how important that is, and I know a lot of people. And of course, it's funny when I think about our military, like I just assume like, oh, everybody's strong, mentally, because you see the commercials, tough, built tough. I don't remember the slogans, but every time I hear commercials, always like, and I guess, I'll automatically assume of you in the military that, oh, you're 100% strong. So, but then after hearing your story today, I realized, oh, wow, it's really, really important to learn about your mental health before, and then make sure you have a good place mentally before you go into the army. And can you just, I guess I'm just want to bring it up because I know it's a topic you wanted to talk about, the mental health within the military.
I think like my closing like words for mental health is like how we stated before, like if you are struggling with anything and you're in the military, do not be afraid. Like, do not feel worried about judgment. Do not fear judgment. The best way, especially the best way to lead, is from the front. And if I always look at it, like I had to look at it like if I had a soldier under me and they needed somewhere to go to talk to, if they needed a counselor or a therapist to talk to, but they were too afraid to talk to them, how would I talk them out of it? And I had to realize that if I wanted to lead, I had to do it myself. I had to start it myself, and I didn't like need to worry about what anyone else's opinions of me like was gonna be, or the thought of behavioral health looking like being looked down upon. Because like how we've been saying this whole time, if you don't address it now, then it's just going to keep carrying on until you do.
Yeah. And like you said, like, if you can't take care of yourself, then you can't. You can't help other people. You can't help yourself. You gotta take care of yourself first.
Yeah.
All right. I guess the last thing before we end the podcast, I wanted to ask you. I guess some fun. Add some fun to this. I'm so you. I guess I want to ask you some army myths or stereotypes.
Okay.
So can you tell me if this is true? All right. So is it true? This is what we hear. I'm just giving you what I hear from other people. Is it true that military people they marry quickly?
Yeah, my husband very quickly. But yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Yes. I know something I always hear from. I guess people make jokes online or something, or people like on Facebook. They're like, "Oh my God, if you, I met a military. I took a guy on a date from the military. He was already asking for marriage like the next day or something." So I guess it's a military thing. I feel like the military is like I'm Mormon, so I'm Mormon, so we have missions. So I feel like it's like a mission. Like you get away from the world. So by the time you come back, you just ready to go tie it down with somebody.
Exactly.
All right. So I want to ask you, military. When it comes to the military, both men and women, is it pretty scandalous?
Oh yeah. But honestly, I did not realize. So I always thought that the military was bad with like scandals and
yeah.
that kind of stuff. But I mean, now that I'm on the civilian side and I'm with the rest of y'all, like y'all, there's some scandalous stuff going on.
I know. I always hear from my friends, like, "Hey, bro," like when they're dating someone from a girl, say a girl from my guy friends. If you meet a girl from the military, oh no, that girl can't trust her. It was a military girl. So, and I hear the same thing from guys too. Like a lot of girls, like, oh, don't trust. If it's military, don't trust the girl. Don't trust him. They're scandalous. So that's what I hear. I just wanted to ask you, just your reaction, but I guess. But like you said, it doesn't matter if you're civilian or military. Everybody's scandalous nowadays. So go find yourself a good person. I guess yeah, I think we've come to the end of the podcast. Man, we've had some great discussions, some great discussions, and I guess I just want to say thank you so much. Thank you so much for sharing your life story, and you shared a lot of great experiences. And I know a lot of them was pretty hard and pretty tough. And I just want to say thank you so much for sharing those moments and sharing your experiences, even though some of them were traumatic. But the fact that you shared it today, I know for a fact that somebody out there watching is probably going through. I know for a fact that they're going through a similar experience, and just to give them some kind of hope and inspiration that that you were able to grow out of it and move past it, and still be who you are today. And you're totally living a different life. So I love seeing your videos on social media, and you're doing your thing, being an entrepreneur. You're pursuing your passion, doing what you love to do. So that's really inspiring to me. So I just want to say thank you so much for sharing your life story today, sharing everything about. Everybody got a chance to know who you are.
I know.
So thank you so much. I really appreciate that. I guess one thing I just want to say, the last thing I always have every guest on my show do at the end. I always ask them to share some final thoughts to end it off. So and end it off for everyone. So I guess everything you've gone through in your life. Can you share some final thoughts, some words of wisdom, some inspiration for everybody, and we can just leave off that.
Final thoughts would be or embrace your story. Like, I know a lot of people, they look at their past as something to be ashamed of or embarrassed about, but once you embrace your story, then you'll sincerely and genuinely learn how to love yourself, and that way others will know how to love you. But yeah, those are my final thoughts. I did just want to end it by saying thank you so much for having me. This was definitely the best, probably 2 hours well spent, and I just feel like what you're doing for our people and for this community, like I said, it's just amazing, and it's just given me, like, while I'm talking, it's just been giving me so much time to reflect on my life and remember parts about where I came from and how I grew up, and just how proud I am now, Yeah. So thank you.
No, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. But like I said, everybody's been watching. Thank you so much for coming to the end. Have a great time. I'm gonna press the stop button, and I'm gonna talk to you right after. Okay.